Joining me now on set, Charlie Hurt, the Washington Times opinion editor and Fox News contributor. We'll get into all the details of the fact that, Trump was president, he was vice president, whether Hunter Biden took a look at all that stuff in a second. But how can the president actually campaign for re-election? Because this was clearly a campaign stop this morning. How can he campaign with this hanging over his head?
Oh, I think it's going to be very difficult. And I think mostly because I think it reveals that there are real cracks among Democrats about the confidence they have in him to go forward, because all of these things, every step of the way, they have made the situation worse by either not coming clean immediately or coming up with ridiculous explanations for it, and it really does sort of make me wonder whether or not people have lost confidence. Yeah. Democrats have lost confidence.
Well, before the election, everybody's saying the president's going to have to back out of a re-election campaign, and then, that there wasn't the big red wave that we thought, even though there were in certain states. And they say he's back in the driver's seat. Has he completely lost that now? Is he back to where he was 3 or 4 months ago?
Well, yeah, I think there was a little bit of a honeymoon period for a couple of weeks where Democrats were like, well, hey, maybe we can do this. But then it started to set in. And I hate to be totally conspiratorially minded, but our government is teaching us to do this. We now know how deeply the intelligence community cares about partisan politics in this country. Right. And that's a very sad thing, but we know. And so
by the way, that's why that's issue number one for Jim Jordan in terms of his investigation, is figuring out how the deep state has been weaponized politically and trying to get to the bottom of that.
How funny is it that they talk about stepping back and looking at big picture changes? How funny is it that the Republican Party has become the party of civil liberties in this country?
Yeah.
And God bless him for it. I love it. It was the best part of the Democrat Party when the Democrat Party cared about back when we still had the Soviet Union.
Well, they're even calling the Jordan committee, upcoming committee, and investigating this, the new church committee, and Frank Church was a famous Democrat Senate. He investigated the FBI. Thank goodness he did so. But every generation or so, you need to redo this. I just want to get into the White House response, the initial response to their secret document scandal, and of course it came from White House spokesperson Jean-Pierre. Let me play the most often uttered line by her. Roll tape.
He said he takes classified documents and information seriously. He takes classified documents very seriously. He takes classified information and materials seriously. He takes classified documents and information very seriously. He takes this very seriously. He takes this very seriously. The president takes this very seriously. The president takes this very seriously. The president takes very seriously, very seriously, very seriously, very, very seriously.
I take classified documents and classified materials seriously.
I mean, you have to laugh at this, Charlie. How can anybody take that seriously in light of what's happened?
I think this is like a hypnosis technique by the White House, where they just keep saying it over and over again. And we're all going, oh, he takes it very seriously.
It's like Clockwork Orange. We're being programmed into believing something.
But when you have the media on your side, you get away with that. You can just keep saying something, oh, he takes it very seriously, and everybody's like, well, everybody knows he takes it very seriously because you heard somebody say that 79 times this morning.
Right. All right. Well, let's get into some of the details now. The main thing I think that is worrying a lot of people right now is who's looking at these documents. We've had the fourth collection now, or maybe it was a couple of papers, but it's the private lawyers of the president. Why isn't the FBI involved? Is the DOJ? I mean, obviously it's in the interest of the private lawyers of the president to look at stuff and keep the incriminating stuff from being found or whatever they're doing. I'm just suggesting that these things might be happening, but isn't that exactly why you need the FBI in there to be doing the culling of all these secret documents?
Well, I think that's exactly why it's so alarming, the degree to which the Department of Justice and the FBI have become politicized and have become extremely interested in partisan politics in this country. And it's terrifying. By their own standards, this is a crime scene. Mm-hmm. They should be the ones going through and looking at everything, again, according to their own standards. And I can sit here and get into an endless argument about, the degree to which we classify documents and how serious all of this is. And, I think we way overclassify things. But again, going back to their own standards, the standards they set, in particular with the case with Donald Trump.
Right.
This is a crime scene, and the idea that a perpetrator's lawyer or an accused or a suspect's lawyer is allowed to go and collect all the evidence, and in the absence of the police, is absurd.
And then you have the question of whether they were concealing evidence right before an election in order to tip the election in their favor. I mean, if this had come out when they knew about it right before the election, clearly it would have had an effect on that election.
Oh, I think without a doubt. But the other thing, and this is very, very important. Any way you slice this, Joe Biden took documents from another president's White House. That's you can't dispute that. We can argue about whether Trump should have taken documents or all that kind of stuff, but there's no argument possible that Joe Biden had the authority to steal those documents from the Obama administration. And that's what he did. He had them for 6 years. Where have they been?
Well, we know now that they weren't all in one place, that they were being
They've been
moved.
all over
Somebody
the place.
was moving them. Who was that?
And who had access to them? And honestly, I would like to know, have they taken fingerprints of all of these? I would like to know whether Hunter Biden's fingerprints can be found on these documents, whose fingerprints can be found on them.
Well, and again, what we've heard is that both China and Ukraine were the subject of some of these top secret documents.
Yep,
and of course, Hunter Biden had interests in seeing what those documents were, seeing what they knew about corruption at Burisma that was paying him money, seeing what they knew about the various entities that he was dealing with in China.
You know, one of my favorite old reporting techniques, when I got a batch of documents that I knew that I wasn't supposed to have, I learned this from a great editor. The first thing you do, you go and you photocopy all of them and throw away the originals, so that if you get into trouble or if your source gets into trouble and they come and look at fingerprints, you can protect your source. Have they gotten the fingerprints off of these documents?
Who knows? Who knows? By the way, they're
I
giving me a rap.
do know.
But very quickly, how does all this end? I mean, if you can't, as you suggested, if you certainly can't trust the Biden administration, they were withholding evidence from the public for a long time. But if you can't trust the DOJ, if you can't trust the FBI itself, who can you trust to get to the bottom of this? Will we ever know?
We know that Hunter Biden is under investigation by federal authorities, and I can't help but think that there are things in there where the intelligence community and Democrats are looking at one another saying, we can't cover for Biden this time, and that what we're seeing play out right now is a result of that.
Charlie Hurt, great to see you in person here in New York.
Indeed.